Hello friends, welcome back. Let me start by asking you something simple. Imagine you are running a small factory in Tirupur, maybe making t-shirts or bed sheets. Suddenly, overnight, the cost of selling your product in America doubles. The same t-shirt that cost $10 now costs $20. Do you think American buyers will happily pay double? Of course not. They will immediately look to buy from Vietnam or Mexico. How would you feel in that moment? Shocked? Worried about your workers? Or determined to find another market? This is exactly what thousands of Indian exporters felt on the 27th of August 2025 when the United States suddenly imposed a 50% tariff on many Indian products. 50%? That is not a small adjustment. That's like putting a mountain in front of a runner and saying, "Now run the same race." Why did the US do this? They say India has been buying oil and defense equipment from Russia, and they want to discourage that. So politics and economics got mixed up. But here comes the real story. Instead of bowing down, India has decided to handle this challenge with boldness and dignity. Let's take a walk through different parts of our economy to see how this boldness is playing out. In Surat and Tirupur, where textile exporters dominate, canceled orders from America were initially a big blow. But soon you started hearing stories of companies shifting their focus to Europe and the Middle East. Some even began experimenting with eco-friendly fabrics because European buyers are paying extra for sustainable products. So, instead of trying to compete on cheap price, they're moving towards premium positioning. Doesn't that sound like turning a problem into an opportunity? Pharma is another area. India is already known as the pharmacy of the world, supplying low-cost generics to the US. With tariffs making things harder, pharma companies began strengthening their links with Africa and Latin America, while also investing more in research and development for specialty medicines. And here's the interesting part. Even during the turmoil, Indian pharma exports actually grew by nearly 9% last year. So ask yourself, are these companies panicking, or are they adapting? Now think about IT services. For decades, young Indian engineers have dreamt of working in Silicon Valley on an ONE-B visa. But the US government just hiked the visa fee to $100,000 per application. That's like telling someone you can come in, but first pay the price of a small apartment. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? Large companies like Infosys, TCS, and Wipro have responded in their own way. They are hiring more local employees directly in the US. They are opening big centers in Mexico, Poland, and Canada. And they are investing massively in artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and cybersecurity. Small firms are struggling, yes, and many families are under stress. But the big message is this: India's IT backbone is too strong to collapse because of one new rule. Let's move to autos. Companies like Bharat Forge and Motherson Sumi export huge volumes of auto components. With tariffs making that more expensive, they are now betting big on electric vehicle components and signing partnerships with European car makers. It's almost like being pushed into the future faster than expected. Even agriculture is shifting. Shrimp exporters in Andhra Pradesh and Odisha suddenly found the US market shrinking. But they didn't give up. New contracts are being signed with buyers in China and Japan, where demand for seafood is exploding. Imagine being a farmer who once depended on the US and now finding a lifeline in Asia. Doesn't that give you hope that when one door closes, others do open? But this story is not only about industries. It is about India's place in the world. While the US is flexing its muscles, India is turning towards groups like BRICS. Have you noticed how this group has grown to include 11 countries now? Together, they represent almost 40% of the world's economy and more than half the world's population. They are trading in their own currencies, reducing dependence on the US dollar, and building new partnerships. Can you imagine what will happen if this group actually succeeds in creating a parallel system? Do you think it can shift the balance of global power? And while all this is happening, India is not panicking. Our exports form only about 20% of GDP. That's much lower than Vietnam or Bangladesh, who rely far more on exports. So when tariffs hit them, they shake more. India, on the other hand, has a massive domestic market and a young, ambitious population. This gives us a cushion, a kind of safety net. Now, let's pause here and reflect together. If you were an Indian policymaker, what would you focus on? Would you keep fighting for the old US market? Or would you invest in new industries, new technologies, and new partners? The government is already moving in that direction. Production-linked incentive schemes are pushing investments in electronics, solar panels, and chemicals. Yes, these sectors are facing challenges, but the intention is clear. Make India a strong manufacturing base so that our future doesn't depend on one country's mood swings. And you know what's really inspiring? The attitude. India is saying we will not bend. We will not beg. We will stand tall. We will diversify. We will create. Think of it like a storm. A small boat might sink, but a large ship can adjust its sails and survive. India is that large ship. So now, let me ask you directly when you hear all this. Do you feel fear? Or do you feel pride? Do you see a country being cornered? Or do you see a country showing its strength with dignity? Friends, I believe this is more than a story about tariffs and visas. It is about our self-respect. It is about showing the world that India is not just a supplier of cheap goods or cheap labor. We are innovators, we are resilient, and we are determined to be treated with fairness. As we close this journey today, I want you to think about your own role in this larger story. If you are an entrepreneur, how can you innovate? If you are a professional, how can you upgrade your skills so that opportunities come to you instead of you chasing visas? And if you are simply a citizen watching the news, how can you support this bold spirit by believing in the power of India? I would love to hear your thoughts. Share your opinions, your hopes, your doubts. Let's make this a real discussion. And if you stayed with me through this long story, thank you so much. Do like and subscribe, because more such deep dives are coming your way. Stay strong, stay curious, and most importantly, stay proud of the way India is handling these challenges with dignity, with courage, and with boldness. And before I leave, let me be very clear. The information shared here is not fully verified. Please cross-check facts and figures before using them for any purpose. I cannot take responsibility if something turns out to be wrong or interpreted differently. Thank you, friends. Take care, and see you soon. If you like this, you may please subscribe to my channel, though there is no hurry, and you may do it whenever you have time. Stay happy. Stay informed. Good. Bye.